are in the world. My name is Mona with Mona Lu International, and I work with organizations and leaders looking to enhance their cultural awareness so they can increase their productivity, harmony, and team performance. I was reading a book and then I received a picture. Somebody sent me from another country a picture of an advertising. Well, the reason they sent it to me was it was a joke, but to me it was not a joke. I analyzed it differently, but it showed an advertising for Coca-Cola where it's somewhere in the Arabian Peninsula, and it showed, you know how they read from right to left, and the advertising made from left to right. So it shows that you're tired. That's the first one on the left. The second one, you drank Coca-Cola. And the last one on the right side, you are energized and happy and ready to jump. Well, it just tells you that, look at this. These people cannot read the way this was sent to them, but the reality is the brand or the marketer did not understand the culture. So that's why I decided to speak about this topic today. And there has been a lot of renowned brands making major mistakes when they're entering a different market or even approaching a different consumers within their market. So we have to understand that globalization is at its peak, offering immense opportunities to businesses to expand their operations in host nations. And understanding one's culture is vital for firms to avoid any hassle in host countries. Working in those host countries is as tricky as starting up a new business in an entirely different nation where people are different, culture is not familiar, and has numerous uncertainties and pressures. And there was a book that I had read a few years ago of Demoji, and it says culture is an important aspect which puts pressure on the companies to change their strategies accordingly. And it has stated that companies have to examine the market in which they plan to enter by gaining valuable marketing insights. There's no doubt that for succeeding in today's environment, it is essential for the marketers to gain market insight by having a 360-degree view of the context of the host country. And I'll stop here because today I posted on my LinkedIn and Facebook an interview that I have for tomorrow with someone that lives in Qatar. He's an American but's been living in Qatar, and I had a brief conversation with him, and then he emphasized on the aspect of misunderstanding that a lot of Americans are not or don't have the right knowledge when it comes to other cultures. And the reason we're doing this because according to reports, Qatar is planning to invest mega money here in the US markets. And a lot of companies, a lot of businesses and their staff are not trained to deal with people from Qatar. Managers, leaders, business owners, shakers and makers, and those people that have the purchasing power and the ones that they need to communicate to. So we are going to talk about that, and I just wanted to mention it real quick. The concept of following cultural values of the host nation for successfully establishing in the market, which is entirely new for the countries, and that's a must know. Some will say that you have some analysts, some specialists on the field will tell you that the concept of following cultural values of the host nations for successfully establishing in the market, which is entirely new for the countries, is so important. And there are others that negate that and aver that not every company is successful in expanding its operations in host countries because marketers and strategic planners often misunderstood the concept of cultural adaptation. They think contemplating cultural values is all they have to follow. Rest everything will stay the same for capturing the market. This is where they are, of course, wrong. And that's what they say. So we have pros and cons on the importance of understanding culture, but gaining an in-depth understanding of cross-cultural mistakes by renowned brands for evaluating the success and failures of brands in host nations. There are so many studies that have been done, and those studies are significant in nature as they offer a bird's eye view and will help in providing, or do help in providing, a lesson to the marketers by putting forward evidence of brands where they went wrong, why, and what consequences they faced. As we discuss the concept of cross-cultural communication, we can say that by knowing these factors, these important facts, it broadens the discussion to cross-cultural communication and provides us with example from the global world. I believe I've done an episode on cross-cultural communication, which I said that cross-cultural communication holds strategic importance for the companies to grow in the global business environment. I will say the CCM, which is cross-cultural communication, is essential for companies that seek to have a diverse workforce or has a plan for conducting business in competitive global environments. We are, you may have seen several examples of failures and others of successes. And then we are going to mention few in here, that way you can have a better idea. But before I do that, there are dimensions, there are cultural dimensions, theories, by which we assess the culture. And there are a lot of models that you can find out in the world, and we'll mention few, but it will give you an idea. They will all give you an idea of what we are talking about when we are referring to dimensions. Now, let's start with power distance index. This one defined as the level of inequality that is present and is accepted among the people with power and without power, both. It also explains that a high level of PDI, which is Power Distance Index, indicated that the society gave acceptance to the stratified distribution of power, and also that the people of the society know their place in the overall system. On the other hand, or the other hand, low, the power distance high and low, PDI scores explains that the power is shared and is extensively diffused, and moreover, people are not ready for accepting the situations where an equal distribution of power is done. So this is Power Distance Index. The other dimension is individualism versus collectivism. And I had mentioned that on one of my episodes. We'll call it IDV. IDV refers as the power of the ties that the individuals have within each other in the society. A high DIV score indicated an unsteady social connection between those people who are not considered as part of the family. At this level, less responsibility was taken by people for the actions and outcomes of each other. In addition, on this dimension, it stated that in collectivist society, a group of people which belong to each other are supposedly loyal to each other, and in return to this group will content the interest of the individual. Usually the group is larger in size and take responsibility for good beings of each other. The other dimension is masculinity versus femininity. MAS, M-A-S. Demoji, in 2010, on a book, he mentioned that this dimension referred to man and women roles distribution. In a masculine society, it has been seen the role of man and women overlap at a low rate, and it is expected that man behavior should be assertive. However, in a feminine society, the overlap between the role of man and women is observed at a high level. Another dimension is Uncertainty Avoidance Index, UAI. This dimension helps in explaining how well people deal with an anxiety issue. People attempted to make life controllable in a society that score high in uncertainty avoidance. Countries with which have a low UAI scoring people over they are inclusive, relaxed, and open. Then we have a pragmatic versus normative, PRA. Minkov, on his book about this in 2012, stated that this dimension refers to the level at which people needs to describe the inexplicable and are actively linked to nationalism and religiosity. Countries with or which have a high score of our PRA have people who are frugal, pragmatic, long-term oriented, and modest. On the other hand, in the low-scoring countries, people are more nationalistic and religious. Then we have we have indulgence versus restraint. That's VR. The impact of increased VR on the society can be seen as people's emotion, and the need to enjoy life is welcomed with open arms. Society with the low VR score have stricter norms in this society and emphasize more on suppressing people enjoyment. The last one is standardization versus adaptation. Vranti, in his book of 2009, General Adaptation Approach, seeks to shed light on the importance of the customization. The fundamental basis for this approach discusses the fact that when expanding the businesses to the foreign market, the companies must take in consideration all the essentials factors, including climate, language, education, race, culture, and so many other factors. So let's take a look at some failures or we'll call them mistakes, and then some successes. Remember, lower content. The world is divided in two, and there are some as far as cultures goes, and there are some that are right in the middle, right there. They can be in one section on certain issues and the other section on other issues. So we have a lower contest and higher contest. I guess we'll talk about that on another day. But let's go back to some examples here in the U.S. market. And that was Ikea. Ikea is one of the most excellent companies operating in various regions successfully. However, such big giants also make some mistakes while considering their operations globally. It has faced severe challenges when making its market entry to the US. The IKEA marketing was smart enough that they planned to stimulate the existing marketing strategies to the US as well. However, all efforts go in vain as IKEA lag behind in satisfying its US consumers. It would have considered the aspect of customization to offer product to US customers. Moreover, when it finally entered the US, the consumers put forward their demands for the furniture that is larger in size. They further demanded bigger closets and beds. IKEA's marketers may or may not consider extensive market research on the US before entering this very region. Nevertheless, they followed the same strategy which led to the biggest failure. Similar to this, Americans prefer comfortable sofa sets. The sofa sets launched by IKEA in the US were hard enough that they were unable to sit comfortably. Curtains lounge also did not meet the needs of American households as they were small in size. This is among so many other items. And in 2010, Sauter added on the importance of culture and averred that culture is the key issue because none of the two things is alike. These are even difference, or there are even differences in the non-verbal communication in various regions. So marketers, while creating an ad for their product, should also consider this aspect. Let's talk about Pepsi and KFC in China. Pepsi, a big MNC that expanded to China, entered with the slogan, Pepsi brings back to life, which was translated in very different manner as Chinese consider that phrase to be Pepsi bringing their ancestors back from the death. This was quite a funny mistake from the end of Pepsi. However, this was through a huge mistake at such a global scale. On the other hand, the biggest fast food chain, that is KFC, also made serious blunders when it considered expansion to China. Their slogan was finger licking good, which was translated into Chinese language as eating fingers off. Nonetheless, KFC in the 1980s, when it planned to launch itself in Hong Kong, they made the use of chicken that has been fed and raised in China. It is observed that Chinese fed fish to their chickens, thus the taste does not match with that of America's KFC. The consequences were even worse as KFC had to shut down its operation and did not open its stores for 10 years. Another example, we'll talk about Vicks and its blunder in Germany. Vicks is another renowned firm operating successfully in the international markets. It then expanded its operation to Germany by launching cough drops and thus faced severe issue, which was in the form of wrong pronunciation as per the German language. Vicks in the brand name and in German the V is pronounced as F, which in Germany is considered as sexual penetration. Vicks thus failed in the German market. And there are so many others. Yesterday I did a post about Starbucks in Mexico, when I saw a sign. They placed a sign that says exit here. Well, exit here obviously is you leave this way, you exit the store this way, but they translated in Spanish it says éxitos aquí, which says success here. So I was wondering how many entrepreneurs rushed into Starbucks to look for or get some dosage of success. So, well, let's pick something. Let's pick something we're familiar with. The success of McDonald's. As you know, McDonald's is all over the world, and McDonald's have to consider numerous factors are integral to their expansion in other regions. One of the best stands to be quoted here is of McDonald's, which has been really successful and is a highly recognized brand functioning in the global market. Keeping in mind the overarching consistency of the brand across the globe. McDonald's, anywhere I go, I find McDonald's, and it's so strange. Anytime you go to McDonald's, whether I am in Paris, it's full. And I was in Morocco, and the lines, they're just huge. It's like fine dining. Last time I was in Turkey, the same way, And in Netherlands, in Spain, I mean, anywhere you go, you find McDonald's having success. I guess they considered global marketing efforts because it adjusts itself by local needs. McDonald's believes in devising its strategies accordingly and develops the region specific menu. I remember in 2003, it launched McArabia, which is a flatbread sandwich in its Middle East restaurant. Similarly, it also launched its macarons, for its menu in France. So from the stance here, it is entirely clarified that such big giant also make some mistakes, because not every brand will be successful every time. I am going to stop here for today, but the importance of understanding culture it's of immense value and importance. I mean, any company, whether you don't have to really expand to another market to know the value or the importance of understanding cultures and their communication styles. What is important to them? I mean, we live here. If you are in the U.S. market, we live in anywhere you go today. Really, even countries that were once homogeneous, they're no longer that way because of immigration. Even Japan that used to be homogeneous, now they have accepted a large number of immigrants from all over the world, and the makeup of the society will eventually change. Even with that, you have to understand the importance of the cultural communications of particular groups, particular societies, particular countries. I mean, cross-cultural management is the utmost challenge being faced by the organization when the plan to work in the host nations. I mean, mistakes are part and parcel of the business, and even big giant companies make a blunder, as they often fail to get all of the needed insights to capture the particular market in the host nation. Same thing that happens on a global scale, it can happen on local scale. Here we're living in Florida. I live in Florida, and we have a multicultural, call it melting pot, call it a salad bowl. There are people from all over the world, and when you don't understand what they're about, their cultural communication style, their habits, their likes, what offends them, what they like, what to do and what not to do, is so important. It can make it or break it for your business, and that's why I'm so passionate about this topic. And I really want the people to understand how important this is going forward, because the world is changing at a rapid pace. I mean, 100 years ago, or even 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, your place is no longer the same. There has been changes. There has been so many coming in, moving out, and that changes the demographics and changes the culture, changes everything about the place you live at or you work at. So let's let's move on with this topic. I'm gonna stop right here, but until then, I wish you the best, and I definitely encourage you to go out and connect with someone, with a stranger. You never know what you will find out. Um, Go out like blindfolded and just speak with anyone. You'll be amazed how much you will learn. So stay safe, stay happy, and